Hello there. Today we are starting a new course on macroeconomics. This will be a simpler video as we cover the base fundamentals of economics, and these are things you should generally know and it's the basis for everything else. So let's get into it.
So first of all, why do we need economics? And I'm not going to bore you about the benefits and career opportunities of taking an economics class, but why do we even need the field of economics in the first place? Well, the reason is because of scarcity. Scarcity is the effect of unlimited demands and limited resources. Economists assume that human demands are infinite for our intents and purposes. I'll probably always want more money, more land, and more stuff. But while living in a world where there is infinite money and supply is great, that isn't the world we live in. Instead, we have limited resources to fill those unlimited wants, and that is the reason we have economics as a field. We wouldn't need to worry about production possibility frontiers, supply and demand, unemployment, interest rates, fiscal and monetary policy, none of that if we had unlimited resources to make unlimited goods. But economies as a whole develop because of this. Over here, we see oil, a scarce good. Because there's only so much oil, an oil market is created to handle transactions between supplier and the consumer. If I could go and get oil from anywhere where there wouldn't be anyone selling it, there would be no one buying it because I could just get it myself. That's why there isn't an air market, for instance, because it's not something you can reasonably sell. All countries need to answer three basic economic questions. The first is what will be produced. South Africa has a lot of gold and diamonds, so there's no surprise that its biggest exports are that, gold and diamonds. It wouldn't make sense for the country to start basing its economy on the export of oil because it doesn't have oil reserves. That's for some Middle Eastern countries, for example Saudi Arabia, who do have those oil reserves and therefore focus on exporting oil. The second question is how it will be produced. Based on the resources available, people need to use them most efficiently to produce those goods that were decided on in the first question. In the US, which has a highly skilled labor force, it doesn't make sense to farm through very labor-heavy methods. The third and final question is for whom it'll be produced. Here is where we can use capitalism versus communism to help explain. Communism is easier to understand. The leading authority or government decides who gets how much. In communism, everyone's supposed to get the same amount of goods and services. Goods are produced for everyone and everyone gets an equal amount. In capitalism, however, you can get relatively as many goods as you want so long as you have the money for it. You may get 10 loaves of bread, but your neighbor may only get one. Some people might get none. So those are the three economic questions. What will be produced, how it will be produced, and for whom it will be produced. However, how all these questions are answered is also important. There are three main types of economies, and by this I mean command economies, market economies, and traditional economies. Simply, in command economies, the government answers the question, and in market economies, the markets answer the question, or people. How does a market answer questions? Through money. By buying what they need, they answer the questions about what to produce and who gets it. Suppliers choose the most efficient methods to maximize profits, deciding how it is produced. And not to forget, in traditional economies, customs and trade, focusing on survival, decide the questions. This infographic here sums it up well. Most countries are actually a mix of all three, including the US. To see them together in action, imagine a farmer taking part in tradition by getting the whole family together to harvest. The farmer drives their food down a highway, which is paid for by the government. Finally, he sells it in a market to whoever is willing to buy. Each system has their own benefits and negatives that I won't cover here, but most economies today are market ones, or at least primarily market ones. Finally, for today's lesson, we will cover the factors of production. They are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. In this picture here, we can see all four of them in action. The first is land. Land generally refers to natural resources as a whole. Rivers, water, trees, they are all under land. The land this factory is built on is part of this category. The land the company's stores are on are also part of this category. Next, we see labor. This is quite obvious. The people working here are examples of it. Labor is the human time, effort, and talent that goes into making something. So even architects, doctors, and teachers who you might not associate with the normal day use of the word labor do go under this category. Third is capital. Capital is the stuff used to make or distribute a good or service. An example of capital in this picture is the building. The machines, the lights, all of these are examples of capital. The trucks used for distribution, the stores where they are sold, that is all capital. This is called real capital. Human capital is things like education, job training, or a degree that workers can invest in. So companies invest in real capital, workers invest in human capital. Finally is entrepreneurship. While you can't directly see it, you can see the effects of it. Someone had to take the opportunity to start this business, this factory. Someone had to start the business, an entrepreneur, the innovator. That is what is defined as entrepreneurship. So let's review. We covered scarcity, the three economic questions, and the factors of production. This should help you later on, and I'll see you in the next video,
where we will really delve into the subject with the production possibilities frontier, supply and demand, and more stuff to come.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you later.